All right, so let's talk about RTD. When Doctor Who returned to TV in 2005, after a nearly 16-year hiatus, it was a triumphant rebirth. The man at the helm was Russell T Davies, a seasoned television writer and a longtime fan of the show. Under his guidance, Doctor Who was transformed from a cult classic into a modern pop culture phenomenon. Davies made Doctor Who essential viewing for a new generation. Yet in hindsight, some fans wonder, did Russell T Davies also lay the groundwork for the show's eventual decline? Was he the genius who saved Doctor Who? Or did his vision quietly sow the seeds of its own downfall? Let's get into it. So there's no question that Davies was essential to Doctor Who's revival. The BBC had long considered bringing back the show, but it wasn't until Davies, a respected writer, pitched a modernized version that things truly moved forward. His approach was smart. He didn't just bring back the monsters and the time travel, he breathed new life into the franchise. Episodes like The End of the World, Turn Left, and Midnight are often cited as modern classics. The show wasn't just about aliens anymore, it was about loss, love, and sacrifice. The 9th and 10th Doctors became layered, emotionally complex figures, and the companions, especially Rose Tyler and Donna Noble, were more than just sidekicks or mediocre assistants. For better or for worse, genuine connections were forged between the Doctor and his companions. If you saw my last video, you'll know that I think introducing romance was a mistake, but credit where credit is due, the pathos was very high on that storyline. Under Davies's watch, the show looked better, felt more dramatic, and became part of popular culture again. He understood television as a spectacle, creating season-long arcs and finales that built anticipation and buzz. Yet, even at its height, Davies's version of Doctor Who contained elements that sparked quiet unease in parts of the fandom, elements that would later become major points of contention. Chief among them was the romanticization of the Doctor. The relationship between the Doctor and Rose, for example, divided audiences. While some viewers were emotionally invested in their love stories, others, especially fans of the classic series, felt alienated by the shift from platonic adventure to romantic drama. Hey, I love a good love story. I love them. I want a story to rip my heart out, do the cha-cha on it, and then put it back together again, okay? I am into love stories, but I don't want to see it in Doctor Who.
What, 7 or 8 minutes?
Oh, knock it off. I don't want to see my dad on the job.
This was a major departure from the Doctor of old, who had always been more of a mysterious alien mentor than a heartthrob. What once made the Doctor compelling, his alien detachment, his moral ambiguity, his mystery, was increasingly replaced by melodrama. Davies's tendency towards grand, operatic finales also drew criticism. While The Parting of the Ways and Journey's End were undeniably emotional and exciting, they also featured increasingly convoluted plots and dramatic resolutions that often relied on deus ex machina. That's when you take a seemingly unsolvable plot and you quickly wrap it up by some kind of supernatural intervention. Rose becomes a godlike entity, Donna becomes half Time Lord, reality itself is rewritten to undo certain deaths. While these moments appeared epic, they established a formula where emotion trumped logic, where endings were created through spectacle rather than storytelling discipline. When Davies left the show in 2010, many fans mourned his departure, but the show's trajectory had already been set. His successor, Stephen Moffat, doubled down on the mythology, the mysteries, and the cosmic stakes. Moffat brought complexity and cleverness, but also inherited and exaggerated the emotional tone and timeline-spanning spectacle that Davies had normalized. Moffat is such a strange guy to me because the same guy who did the episodes that bombed also wrote Midnight, which, if you ask me, was absolute perfection. So you have to wonder, What the heck happened? The show began to drift from its roots. The Doctor became even more messianic, companions became the chosen ones, and stories began to rely on emotional payoffs that sometimes lacked narrative buildup. By the time Chris Chibnall took over in 2018, the show was struggling with fractured viewership and declining buzz. His run was often seen as reactionary, trying to correct past excesses while failing to recapture the magic of either Davis or Moffat. This leads to the uncomfortable question: did Russell T Davies, while creating the most popular and emotional Doctor Who era in decades, also inject the show with themes and tones that never truly belonged and that later sent it veering off course? One of Davis's most enduring contributions to Doctor Who was the emotional blueprint he provided. Characters cried more, the Doctor fell in love, farewells were drawn out and heart-wrenching. In the short term, this felt revolutionary, but over time, these emotional peaks became excessive. How many times can the Doctor cry? How many times can Earth be nearly destroyed? The emotional highs started to feel like diminishing returns. Moreover, Davis's influence extended beyond storytelling. His showrunner model turned Doctor Who into a writer-led, vision-driven production. That meant future showrunners were expected to bring a vision, often at the expense of consistency. Each era felt like a hard reboot, with fans either on board or left behind. In 2023, Davis returned as showrunner. Some fans were very excited for his return and saw it as a course correction after the Chibnall era. Others, however, were wary. Would Davis double down on woke ideals, or would there be another renaissance with new stories that centered on fascinating ideas like Blink and Midnight? As it turned out, reality leaned more towards the former. In the end, Russell T Davies is both a hero and a tragic figure in the Doctor Who saga. He brought the show back to life with intelligence, heart, and flair. He made it emotionally resonant and culturally relevant. But he also introduced certain elements: romantic entanglements, godlike companions, spectacle-driven finales that destabilized what Doctor Who had traditionally been. So, was he the show's savior or the one who quietly broke it without meaning to? Can a show survive when its greatest reinvention also pulls it away from its core identity? Let me know what you think. Thanks for watching.